I want to start out by thanking the Tohono people for letting us use their land. And I want to thank the Salt of the Earth College for their uttermost commitment to educating all of us in what really goes on in the world. I don't know how Tucson could exist really without this space. There are some words that come to mind when we think of anything that has to do with learning. There's socialization. That's the word that we've used as sociologists and anthropologists to kind of talk about all those things that we do in our families, that we do with our children. You know, children have to be, as they say, domesticated when they are born and as they grow up, and we nurture them. And the learning that goes on there at home with the parents, with the relatives, whoever is living in the household, that's what we call that early socialization thing. And all peoples have it. Because what? Well, if we have a young one, we need to teach them how to be in the world so we can put up with them on one hand, and so that they can learn to put up with us, and so that then as we get old, they'll do the hard work, and we have to kind of learn to live together as a society. That's socialization. Education is a word that comes later in history. And that's when we have kind of like more formal institutions where we send our children to learn, or our adults, whatever. It's a place that is set aside exactly for that. And most societies have had those places. The kind of education that we have now, though, is a result of a whole historical process, the building of the nation state, and the building of this thing out of the Enlightenment of having the individual. And I won't get into the whole Christian way of educating. I'm going to kind of skip that part, but just to give us a sense that with the Enlightenment and the backing of Christianity, there was this strong sense of the individual. But an individual that had to be, quote, a good citizen. The change from being a subject of a king or a monarchy to being a citizen that was an active participant in the governance of their country. And so we have the formation of the United States and the American Revolution, you know, the setting up of a system in this country. But it was dependent on having citizens, people that were educated in being properly behaving with other people in governance. And that all sounds wonderful. That's why we have public schools. We have public schools so that every single person that is born in this country has an opportunity to learn to be really a good citizen. And that entails a whole lot of things. It entails participating in government, but it also entails in working and in creating and in being a participant in everything that goes on. That's kind of the ideal. We have a problem. The problem is this thing called conquest. Because we are not a country of equals. Equality is kind of this base for having good public education for citizenry. Equality. Where every human being that comes has the same possibility. Every potential is developed to its utmost so that they can then participate fully. But we have a country where full participation, full citizenry is really lacking. And in a way, the history of the United States has been kind of a history for trying to open up those spaces of citizenry to everyone here. And look where we are. We have all heard what the candidate for one of our major parties just said, right? The 47% of the people who don't want to take, I can't even say it, but you know, he writes us all off. Right off the bat. He wants to be president of only his part of the country, right? In a way, you know, it's nice he said it. Because we kind of know that that's what's been going on for a long time. I mean, what's the secret? What's the secret? Let's have it out there. Let's talk about it. Let's realize where our struggle lies. And I go back to conquest. For Mexicanos, and this thing, Mexican American Studies, we've had to call it that, and it just grates my mouth and my brain and my heart, because we wanted, and we called it Chicano Studies. We named ourselves. We were tired of being called names by others. We were here, we were Mexicanos. They came and they took our land. Some people left. This area right here is filled with people who in 1845, 1840s, left California and New Mexico to come here because the border was going to be the Gila River. And guess what? They ended up in the U.S. anyway. So we have this thing that we are Mexicanos who have been here, Mexicanos who have been joined by our brothers at different times, and we know who we are. Our socialization process, our homes have taught us who we are. We are sometimes criados bien, well brought up, other times not so well. We're like every other people in the world. Some are better than others. You know what I mean? Everybody behaves the way they're going to behave. But we know who we are. And not only do we know who we are, we're always being told who we are. We're always being told, you're the lazy Mexican, you're the dumb Mexican, you're a beaner. All those words, right? We're always being told that. So that if some kid decides they don't want to be a Mexican, they don't have much of a choice, Their name gives them away, or the way they look gives them away, so that it's not a choice of saying, I'm going to integrate. I'm going to become American in the full sense of the word. Because at some point in time, that glass ceiling shatters any hope. And sometimes that glass ceiling is pretty low. Sometimes it's almost the floor. So what has happened with our families in this process? All along, for those of us who are Mexicanos here and for those who have come and joined, families have always, at the moment that their children are turned out, that their children are discriminated against, that they themselves suffer injustice, there has always been a response. I don't want to be a romantic that sees resistance in every single thing that a person does. I don't believe in that, I believe in the resistance that comes when people get together and work together and really know what they want to change. Those other forms of resistance are interesting maybe for psychologists to study, but for us that want to look at the big picture, so to speak, we want to look at the resistance that comes in the struggle to fight for equality. And our history is filled with it. Arizona is filled with it. We were suing for integrated schools. We had parents who sat in. We had parents that insisted on voting for boards of education and never having a single member of the Mexicanos be on it. But people did not give up. We have never given up on our children. We have never given up on who we are. And the reason for that is that not because we want to show that we're better than anybody else. There's no romantic thing of, we're these great people, descendants of the Aztecs or of this. Up here in the north, we intermarried, we lived together with Mayos, everybody. We're all one, in a sense. Some stayed and are all Tojono. Some of us have mixtures in us. My dentist told me my teeth are Native American, but I have no idea where in my family that came, as all Mexicans are. We have these things. And also in our way of life. Our way of life is filled with things that we have acculturated, if you want, or adapted, whatever the word is you want, from indigenous people. And we're very comfortable with it. But we have a lot of discrimination, too. There are Mexicanos, you have all kinds of stories that they want nothing to do with Indians. The Camp Grant massacre here in Tucson was led by an Anglo military guy, together with, I hate to say it, an Elias person, together with the leaders of the Tohono O'odham, to go and kill a bunch of Apache women and children, right? So that survival, how to survive at any given time, has made people work together or separate at whatever thing happens. And as Mexicans, Mexican Americans, Chicanos, we're not any better or worse than anybody else. We also sometimes make the wrong decision for humanity. But that's why it's so important that we learn who we are. We have to learn as a people, and we have to let other people know what our struggles have been. Those struggles are what they don't want us to learn. They don't want us to know that we have all the time struggled, whether it's been in mutualistas, whether it's been in unions, whether it's been with courts, however it has been, we have fought together at many times. And we've made mistakes. And sometimes we've lost. Many times we've lost. But many times we have also been able to achieve what we want. And those struggles, those are the struggles that give us an identity as a people. Our history is what tells us who we are, where we come from, and lets us then create our present time. So we can look here today and see the horror of Tom Horn. But not Tom Horn, the person, but that which he represents, which is this taking away our humanity. I often think, we live in this land that has so much sun, and the sun is like such an important symbol also within some of our mythologies. And if we all stand outside in the sun, we all have a shadow. But what has been done to us is that a system of ideas have been put into place that keep us from looking at our own shadow, and that makes our shadow disappear, so that only people with full citizenship have a shadow. The rest of us are invisible. We're not there. And what we have to do is we have to have our place in the sun. We have to fight for that. And that's what Mexican American Studies does. That's what Chicano Studies does. It allows us that space in the today, where the struggle for knowledge is not necessarily inside the home, that's one place, but it's in the public institutions. It is where our taxes are. It is out of public institutions. It is through diplomas and degrees that we are accepted into a society with full citizenship. We must partake in that. We cannot remove ourselves and say, I will have nothing to do with you. No, because our legitimacy lies as citizens, as full, equal people, to be a part of that institution. And so when they throw us out, when they throw out who we are, what we know of ourselves, and what we want to give to the rest, then they are, in a sense, killing us. They are saying to us, you are not a person. You are not worthy of living here. You are not visible.